Hey, Shalom, Israel. First off, I would like to say, Call Halal, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim Rakakwadash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me. I also would like to say peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, the Akim that's pushing his word in all sincerity and faith throughout the four corners of the earth. For the few sisters that watch and sincerely believe, Shalom to you as well. Just back with another lesson. Had the opportunity to break bread with brothers the other night, and the elders of the camp, they were just really just going into the spirit of how brothers need to trim comforts within this world on this side, and basically prepare our mind more and more as we go day for day to be uncomfortable, because that's what's going to happen at the end of the day. America and all of the situations that we enjoy in the flesh, they're going to be taken away at some appointed time. That's why the scripture says in Micah 2:10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. So even though the Most High may bless brothers with certain advantages and comforts within this side, you always have to keep things in perspective and prepare your soul day for day to deal with discomfort, because that's what's coming to the world as we know it, as Great Babylon collapse. So I was really cut to the heart. I mean, we getting close to the time of the Pesach, the Passover, so brothers just going to have to just step up. It's always trimming season and just opportunity to just refine. So I was just glad I had the opportunity to break bread and really dive into that discussion of just examining just comforts on this side. So I want to just go into some precepts. Hopefully this will edify the body. I'm going to start off here in Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 2, and I'll start at verse 1. It says, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. So right off the bat, if you wake up to being an Israelite, you believe this word, the Lord gives you the ability to understand this word, and furthermore, get in the spirit to go out on the highways and the byways to become a sign holder, to become a reader, and then ultimately a speaker. You have to prepare your soul for temptation. Even Yahweh Shah himself, in Matthew, the 4th chapter, he was tempted by Satan at a point when he was at his lowest, when he had fasted and was hungry for 40 days and 40 nights. So the servant is not greater than the master. So if we're followers of Yahweh Shah, the Messiah, we're going to have to prepare our soul to catch all manner of hell and adversity and be tempted, because we're still in the flesh. Paul talked about in Romans, the 7th chapter, it's a constant battle between the spirit and the flesh. Of course, we strive to be more spiritual day for day. That's why the scriptures talks about in 2 Corinthians 4, the inward man is renewed day by day, meaning your spirit. As you get more understanding of the word, as you get more experience, as the Lord builds you up in faith and carries you from glory to glory, you're able to withstand some of those adversities and those temptations that's brought along the way. But the scriptures also talks about we rehearsing the righteous acts. So a part of rehearsing and practicing and getting ready for Yahweh Shah to put that perfection on us is taking a low and just putting yourself in a position at times to where it's not always comfortable. Just prepare your mind and your spirit to deal when you're going to be forced to deal with discomfort from every level. It's better to prepare your mind now. That's why we always quote Isaiah 33:6, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. So when really things hit the fan in this place, into where your whole living situation going to change, you ain't going to be able to feed yourself and just take part in all of these different things that are advantageous to the flesh, you're going to have to really have a sound mind and spirit. And that process starts now. You ain't going to just be able to turn a light switch on. So it's best, while we have this chance of grace, to examine your comfort levels within this world right now and trim to the best of your ability. And everybody has a different measure. So brothers, we all have to meditate and pray to determine comfort wise what we need to trim, so to speak, if that makes sense. It says, I'll read verse 2. It says, set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in time of trouble. And that's what the time that we're coming into, a time of Jacob's trouble, when all of us are going to be tested. Our faith is going to be truly tried. All of the action and the work that we put forth as far as going on the highways and the byways, professing his word, we're going to truly be tested. Our faith is going to be tested. So it's beautiful that that conversation was had amongst brethren, that we need to get in the spirit to trim comfort levels to the best of our abilities, just so we can be ready when it's game time, so to speak. You know, it says, set thy heart aright and constantly endure. And endure means to make hard. So it's going to get a lot harder than it is right now. And we're already catching hell collectively as a nation, and then each individual brother right now. But the Lord ain't really just put the heat to this place because we're in a time of grace to get our mind and our spirits prepared for this time. So right now it's the time to basically not always wanting to be at the most comfortable situation. Basically putting yourself in the spirit to sacrifice your time, your money, your resources, things of that nature, things that make comfort in the flesh come much easier for you. You know, we're in the time to start putting those things off more and more day for day. That's the point being made in that chapter right there. I'm going to go to another precept. This is also in the book of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, because it's a beautiful time. In 2020, we just barely like a week or just a little over a week into 2020. And these prophecies, like Apostle Recall, it says it's popping like popcorn. All types of earthquakes popping off in Puerto Rico. The tensions between the United States and Iran is on the rise. And then, of course, all of these other chief players that are going to play a major role in World War III, things is happening. So I believe 2020, I know the Apostle Tahar, he coined it the year of prophecy. And we're already being shown a lot in a very little amount of time. So that's why it's important for brothers to examine our spirits and our comfort levels, just so we can be as mentally and spiritually prepared when shit hits the fan, so to speak, when our faith is going to be truly tested during the hour of temptation. Before I ramble on too much, I'm going to read here in, what was I wanted? Sirach 11, I think it was like 25. Salaki Akim. I think it was like 25. Yup. It says, Sirach 11 and 25, it says, in the day of prosperity, there is a forgetfulness of affliction. So we're in the flesh. It's easy to forget the times where you were afflicted and catching all amounts of hell and adversity, and where things were extremely uncomfortable. When you enjoying prosperity, it says in the day of prosperity, there's a forgetfulness of affliction. And that happens to us all. We're all subject to this particular thing. When the Lord may bless you with a little bit, you may have a situation to where you're allowed to enjoy certain comforts. You may forget the times where it wasn't so comfortable. But we as men of faith, we have to put ourselves constantly in remembrance of knowing how to be abound and be abased. Knowing how to deal when the Lord gives you certain opportunities for comfort, but furthermore, preparing your spirit to deal with discomfort more and more. It says, and in the day of affliction, there is no remembrance of prosperity. So when Esau, Satan, he's making the RFID chip, the mark of the beast, mandatory, when people are being forced into concentration camps, when they're going to bring the draft back, sending people to fight abroad in World War III, when all of these jobs are going to be out the window, when homelessness rates, are going to be at an all-time high, more so than they are now, to where it's just going to be complete affliction on every side. Ain't going to be no remembrance of prosperity when times where your belly was full and you were in a very comfortable situation. So it's best to prepare our spirit to deal with these things now, to where it really won't faze you, Lord willing, when you're put in that situation. I'm going to continue on. It says, for it is an easy thing unto the Lord in the day of death to reward a man according to his ways. So it's an easy thing in the day of death. Esau got the guillotine right at your neck, and the Lord can deliver you. It says to reward a man according to his ways, and meaning the way you conduct yourself during this time of grace. putting off certain comforts to serve the Lord. The scriptures talk about that charity covered the multitude of sins, not being grudging towards your brother who may be in need, and you have the ability to lift them up. But you may not do it, or if you do it, you're doing it grudgingly and not free-spirited. You got to remember that it's an easy thing unto the Lord in the day of death to reward a man according to his ways. So we're trying to work out our salvation right now to where we're going to be delivered out of the hands of death and whatever mechanism of persecution that's going to come our way. That whatever situation we're faced with, we're basically storing our treasures in heaven to be delivered. So on a practical sense, that just helps to get away from all the things that just bring you comfort the most. And I'm not saying brothers are not going to have moments where you may watch a movie, you might chill with your woman, do this, that, and the third, but you just got to trim more and more. These things and these comforts within this world, you have to purge that out of your spirit little by little, day by day. I'm going to continue on. It says, verse 27, the affliction of an hour maketh a man forget pleasure, and in his end, his deed shall be discovered. So just a little bit of affliction make a man forget pleasure. So you start catching hell for just but a moment, and you'll forget about probably before that time, 5 or 10 years of just pure pleasure and comfort. So because if you're in that mindset, you most likely just didn't consider that the Lord can just change the situation just like that. So right now, during this time of grace, we just need to prepare our mind and spirit to lose every damn thing, man, to be just totally and extremely uncomfortable. I'm going to get another precept. This is, what did I want to get? I'm going to go to the book of Hebrews. And I know me personally, this is something I need to work on. So as I speak in the lesson, I'm speaking to myself as well. First and foremost, because this kingdom at the end of the day, we always gotta keep in perspective. It's gonna be destroyed. Now, we make the best of our situations. We want to put ourselves in the best position to preach this word and to carry out this gospel so that the Most High's elect gonna be sealed. But I quoted earlier, Micah 2:10, this is not your rest, because this land is polluted. Even the comforts that we take part in, a lot of the times, it takes you away from really being in the true spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah. It could put certain demons on you. And not saying that every time you're comfortable, it's a demon on you. That's not what I'm saying. But if you can get too caught up in that comfort, that's when Satan can try to come in, can try to deliver a sneak attack when you're vulnerable. Your guard is let down. And the point is, brothers, we all collectively as a nation, the nation of Israel, through these slaveries and just being beat down so long, we're just wore the hell out. But the men of faith, we just got to understand, we just got to push until the end, and the Lord, he's going to put us into rest. I'm going to read this. This is Hebrews 4:11. It says, let us labor, therefore, to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. So we have to continue to labor diligently and endure to the end to enter into that rest, to come into the Father's house of many mansions, like Yahweh Shah promised his disciples in St. John, the 14th chapter. We got to labor to enter into that rest. We got to deal with temptations and adversities and discomforts. So it's best to examine your spirit and just prepare your mind and your spirit and just take practical steps of getting yourself ready to deal with all manner of discomfort in this flesh. I want to get, matter of fact, because I quoted charity covered the multitude of sins earlier. Because brothers, there's a lot of different ways to serve the Lord. Of course, the preaching on the highways and the byways, first and foremost. Brothers putting up videos during the week, breaking bread with brothers. just trying to keep the Sabbaths and the high holy days to the best of your ability. If you're in the spirit to fast, just constantly praying, but also just preferring your brother above yourself. That's going to put you in the best position to be covered. Like I said, charity covered the multitude of sin. If you see your brother has need, whether it be money, you got to put him up, give him a place to lay his head, cook for him, give him some food, a ride, just counsel, just your time, whatever the case, how charity may come, you have to be willing to make yourself uncomfortable at the need of another brother. Understanding at the end of the day, that's an easy thing for the Lord to reward a man in the day of death, like I read in Sirach 11 earlier. But I want to get something in, I think, Acts 20. Bear with me, Akim. Yep. This is Acts 20 and 35. It says, I have showed you all things, how that so laboring ye ought to support the weak, and to remember the words of the Lord Yahushua, how he said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. So in laboring, an extension of our labor, besides preaching the word, putting up videos and things of that sort, or are supporting the weak. Because brothers, we're a body, we're a collective body, and different brothers have different measures and skill sets, and even things within this world, substance. So if you're a brother who may have a more abundance than another brother, the Lord may have set you up in the lot to support the weak, and you got to rise to the occasion, because that charity can cover that multitude of sin. You basically putting yourself in putting your comforts to the back burner for another brother, that's going to be remembered in the sight of the Lord. It says, remember the words of the Lord Yahushua, how he said, it is more blessed to give than to receive. And I know that's really like a cliche saying, but it's easier said than done. But that's the case. It's more blessed to give than to receive. And you got to understand that the Lord, he'll bless you openly, and you can't outgive the Lord. So whatever you giving up, you got to know that the Lord, he can shower you multifold, and in the most convenient time. We're facing the hour of temptation, the time of Jacob's trouble. So we need all the mercies that we can get. So if you got to take some level of discomfort to bring another brother that's weaker more comfort, hey, albeit, better stack your spiritual treasures in heaven. This is all just exhortation to myself and just to the body, just things we need to sharpen up on. Because these are all things that Yahushua taught his disciples, which we're coming in the stead of the disciples, which ultimately is the elect. Because we're in a so-called new year, which our new year is coming up shortly as we come into the time of the Pashak. So it's just always just brush up, refine time. And then the Lord's going to trim the extra fat that really can't take this rebuke and these exhortations to make improvements and offend less in the spirit. You're going to see that happen as well. And none of us are exempt. So like, I'm going to get this and I'll just end the lesson out. This is 2 Corinthians 13 and 5. It says, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how that Yahushua HaMashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates? And the reason I brought that out is because I probably titled the lesson to something to that effect, examine comforts within this world, or examining worldly comforts, or something like that. All of us as individuals within the body, we have to examine our own spirit, where we stand as far as if we're taking part in too much comfort, and if we need to strive more to be uncomfortable at times to please the Lord and to put ourselves in the best position to be ultimately covered. So the Lord is really just pouring out, or has poured out, the spirit of discernment and understanding to his elect. So we're in the flesh, of course, we're going to go off, but the Lord gives us the ability to repent and refine and sharpen ourselves up. So with all being said, hopefully this made sense and edified the body. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom, peace and blessings to the elect.